Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talkback here on KSYL. Al Quartermont, Stephen Maxwell with you here on a Thursday morning, and glad everyone could be with us here today. Looks like it's going to be another hot and humid one. You spent a little time down in Avoyelles Parish yesterday.
Over in the parish, it's pretty soupy this morning already, so get ready, buckle up. It's going to be another hot and humid today.
It's the last day of spring.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even been in summer yet. We're already spring.
I know. Yeah. Well, you know how it is. These next 3 months get, especially September to me is always the worst month down here weather-wise.
And you have to deal with hurricanes in September.
Oh,
probably the worst of them. It's like a double whammy.
Oh, bite your tongue, my friend. We don't need those this year.
Where's that Cat 4 one?
That is off the it's off the coast of Mexico, more coming off like the Pacific area.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, not really a threat to us or anything, thankfully.
It's called a fish storm.
A fish storm?
Yeah, it's only going to affect the fish.
Oh, I mean, I think it'll affect people on the Mexico side of things, but
that's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a complainer about the summer. I'm a big fan. You know, it gets hot and nasty sometimes, but I cannot stand cold weather. I know you're from Wisconsin and you don't think it's cold over here, but it's bone-chilling cold sometimes for like a week and a half.
Yeah, the winters down here can definitely get a little cold. It's more of a damp cold, which I don't exactly like, but it doesn't last very long, thankfully.
Not too bad.
No,
but I don't think I could live in a very wintry place.
Yeah, when you're dealing with tons of snow, it's just no fun. And especially in some of those places up north where you'll be below zero for a whole month, and sometimes it's cloudy just for days on end, and you get cabin fever because you're inside all the time.
I remember early in my career, real quick, the Madison, Wisconsin station reached out to me about possibly working there, and I was like, they're like, if you can deal with negative 20, we'd love to have you. Oh, I guess my email's not working. In the summer, that place is great, though.
Oh, yeah. Madison's a very nice town, other than some of the politics, but,
That's true. Very true.
So, anyway, welcome in, everyone, here on this Thursday morning. I have to think about it sometimes, what day it is. It's Thursday. And we've got open line for you today, 442-8255. A lot of great topics we'll be getting into. I don't know if you stayed up and watched it last night, but those LSU Tigers pulled off one of the most dramatic wins you're ever going to see, scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to knock off Arkansas at the College World Series by a final score of 6-5. It was kind of a crazy game, Stephen. It was 1-0 Arkansas going into the bottom of the 6th, and LSU scored 2 runs to take a 2-1 lead. Top of the 8th, Arkansas gets a 2-run single. Then they take the lead 3-2, and the lead run came in when Jared Jones, the LSU first baseman, kind of muffed the throw from second base, and the ball squirted away from him a little bit. That allowed the runner to come in all the way from second and score. So it's 3-2, and you're like, oh no. But then in the bottom of the 8th, 2 outs, Jones is up, just launches a home run to tie the game. You're like, okay, can breathe a little bit, but score was still tied at 3. Then you go to the top of the 9th, and Arkansas comes up with a big 2-run single. And you're like, oh man. Well, I mean, you knew even if LSU lost the game, they were going to have to play another game tonight. So it wasn't like end of the season type stuff for LSU. But at the same time, you wanted to win that game last night because it would set up your pitching so much better for the championship series against a very good Coastal Carolina team. So we go to the bottom of the 9th, and LSU gets an out. And then they get a couple guys on, first and second, 1 out. LSU batter hits a ground ball to the shortstop. And the shortstop decides to go to third base to get the lead runner when it pretty clearly would have been a double play. I mean, the LSU batter was barely out of the box when he got the ball would have easily been a double play, game over.
They choked.
But instead, he goes to third, gets the lead runner. So it's 2 outs, 2 runners on, first and second. Next LSU batter comes up, hits a missile to left field, and the left fielder kind of looked like maybe he misjudged it at first, and then trying to come in on it, his feet fall from underneath him. He like slips on the grass, and the ball like deflects off his glove, off his shoulder, and goes in the corner. So here come 2 runs, and LSU ties the game. Runner at second, 2 out. Jared Jones comes up again, launches a screaming line drive to the second baseman. Looks like he's going to catch it. It goes off the top of his glove into center field. Run scores. LSU wins.
Saw that. Man. Good for them. It's exciting when LSU does well here.
Boy, that was an unbelievable. Those last couple of innings, you talk about drama. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as they used to say on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Arkansas was just... Their players were in tears.
I could bet
that one. I felt bad for that left fielder. I mean, that's just tough.
It's tough, especially when you kind of choked away the game. But I know everyone here is very happy. Didn't get a chance to watch it. I saw the highlights this morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very exciting.
Wow, it was something. So,
did you watch the game?
I did.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, I was watching with my son Andrew. So, what does that set up now? It sets up the Tigers taking on the Chanticleers.
Oh, the Chanticleers.
Of Coastal Carolina.
Can we look that up? What is a Chanticleer?
Isn't it a breed of rooster, maybe?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh, yeah, you look it up.
Chanticleer. A musical ensemble.
What?
With a rooster on it? Is that just like the name of the band or something?
Yeah, because I know their logo is like a rooster. That's why I thought it was a rooster.
Oh, it's a rooster.
It's a breed of rooster?
In medieval fables.
Oh, yeah, I know what you...
A proper name in medieval fables. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I've never really heard of Coastal Carolina, so it's someone... I'm not like a diehard LSU guy. I'm going to go for them, of course, if they're in the situation, but it's pretty cool if a team like Coastal Carolina could get a championship, too.
And see, that's just it. A lot of people don't know much about them, but they've won 26 games in a row.
Have they ever been to the final before?
That's a good question.
There was a random Carolina back in the day, huh? Yeah. That made it pretty far?
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe it was basketball. I'm not sure.
But this is a team that not to sleep on. I mean, watching their games, they have no weakness. They're great defense, great hitters, great pitching. I'm in a text group with some other guys about baseball, and I said LSU might end up being the underdog in this one.
I was just thinking maybe because the program is more seasoned, experienced, used to that level of playing. Maybe LSU would have an advantage, but I guess the group of kids they have now wouldn't be overly experienced when it comes to the College World Series.
Yeah. So, well, it should be fun. Starts Saturday. It'll be a 3-game series, and whoever can win 2 of 3 will win the College Baseball World Series. I really do think the 2 best teams in college baseball are in this championship from what I've seen. I'm not a huge college baseball watcher. I kind of casually follow it during the season, but then once you get to the postseason, I'll start paying a lot more attention. And this LSU team has really done a good job. I mean, their bats have come alive. Their pitching has been much better. The only thing they've been a little weak on, especially even yesterday again, was some of the defense. So they're going to have to shore that up a little bit because you can't make those mistakes against Coastal.
I think in today's world, 2 of 3 series are the best bet for engagement. Yeah. Let's change the World Series to 2 of 3, the finals to 2 of 3. I think people would pay attention more.
It does make it fun. So,
or just do like a 1-game sudden death, like they do in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'd really be into that.
Yeah.
Baseball is so weird, though. I get why they wouldn't. But
right.
I think it'd be fun.
Hey, I've got the call here queued up for Jones' walk-off RBI single from the LSU Radio Network, as heard yesterday right here on KSY. I'll take a listen.
2 balls, 1 strike to Jared Jones. Hernandez down at second base. Bottom of the 9th, tie game. This one hit in the air, line drive. It's off the glove of Kojal into center field. Here comes Hernandez. He is safe. Tigers win. Tigers win. They are headed to the championship series here in Omaha. Bye-bye, Arkansas. The Tigers celebrate in right center field. Jared Jones rips the cover off the baseball. Kojo couldn't hold it, and Arkansas' season is over. LSU now will punch their way to the championship series to take on the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina.
Wow, I love that.
You know, those sports announcers are just practicing like each situation about how they're going to go about it.
You think
beforehand. So? Except for Joe Buck.
Oh, okay.
He's always like, man, they won the World Series.
And they won. Yeah.
Congratulations to them.
Coastal Carolina has won the College World Series before in 2016 when they defeated Arizona 4-3.
I knew I've heard of some random Carolina doing something great. I guess that's what it was.
And you know who Arizona's coach was back then?
I couldn't tell you.
Jay Johnson.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So is this a revenge game for him?
It's a payback, baby.
Maybe so.
That's weird how life works out.
Yeah. The Chanticleers.
So Saturday's the big day. I know everyone here is going to be watching that. I was at LAC late last night trying to be active for once, and all the workers were watching it, and I had a question for them. They're like, yeah, okay. I was like, I get it, I understand. So,
wow.
If there was a Cowboys game on back in the day and I was trying to, I would have just.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I'm proud of you working out. You need to get in shape.
That's right. I've been eating too much of Vols Parish food. I guess we could talk about that later, but yeah.
Yep.
If you stay over there, it's tough, man. That's too good to ignore that food.
That's for sure. We need to take a break. More Talkback coming up.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. We're coming on 4 years since the NCAA ruled college athletes could make money on their name, image, and likeness. Libby Dunn. And the top female NIL athlete earner. The now retired LSU gymnast Libby Dunn and other women have been getting a growing share of the business.
You feel like you need to be perfect.
Business is growing thanks in part to ads like Dunn's for athleisure maker Vuori, and also the success of basketball's Flau'jae Johnson, Paige Beckers, and others. Cole Gahagan, CEO of sports marketing firm Learfield, on women in his NIL business.
When we first launched 3 years ago with NIL, the ratios of deals that were being done for men athletes over female athletes was about 60-40. This year, we've seen almost a complete balancing of it at 51% for men athletes and 49% for females.
Meantime, Open Door says the overall NIL market for the most recent year has almost doubled since the first year to just about $1.7 billion. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, we are back here on Talkback. 442-8255 is our phone number on the BOM Bank Talk line. And, man, still kind of buzzing about that win yesterday. That was pretty amazing stuff.
You're always kind of like you're not like a diehard LSU fan. I don't even know if you call you a fan, but you always root for him.
I mean, I definitely keep up with them. You kind of have to.
You kind of have to.
Since you live here now.
Yeah.
I kind of have that advantage where I don't live and die with them. So when they win, I celebrate it and enjoy it. When they die, I just kind of go on with my life. As opposed to a lot of people, and I understand why. I mean, people are, it's like me with the Brewers. If the Brewers, like when they lost to the Mets in the playoffs last year, I was depressed for a few days.
I gave up on the Cowboys like week 3. I knew before the year that they just weren't going to make it. So it kind of softened the blow.
Yeah, you've definitely, man, you've had to kind of realign your expectations.
100%
to the Cowboys.
Well, I used to be so obsessed, and so like my emotions rided on their success and failure, and it gets old after a while.
Yeah, and you kind of grow up and you have a family, and you're like, okay, in perspective, this isn't that big a deal.
I know. There was a time where I would let it affect my whole week. Like, I couldn't wait till Sunday if they lose so we can just get this stink off my life. But, I mean, and then when the players started being younger than me, too, it kind of changed things a bit, too. It's like, oh, man, they're just kids.
That's true.
You know?
It is different as you get older. Yeah. So, but good stuff. Again, 442-8255. So I know that it was announced kind of formally yesterday that there's going to be an informational meeting on carbon capture in Pineville, June 30th at Keys Park. Now, Keys Park holds, when you get everyone in there, maybe a couple hundred. That meeting in Philadelphia had closer to 400. So I think the Keys Park meeting is going to be packed out.
It's going to be packed out. I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, 100%. There's going to be lawmakers there. We don't know exactly who. There's going to be geologists. There's going to be, I think, stakeholders from the company. So from what I was told, it's just going to be an informational meeting. They're going to try and keep it non-biased. So they want to get what they say is more, I don't want to say objective information, but there's no narrative to it, I guess. I don't know if you can do that.
The one in Philadelphia was billed that as well.
Exactly.
It kind of depends.
I don't think it was like a reaction to that. It's just another one.
Kind of depends what unbiased factual information you believe.
That's what I said. I don't even know how to really say it. You know,
right.
It's dubbed as an informational meeting.
Yeah. The news release says the event is intended to provide, and then it's in italics, factual science-based information, which putting it in italics even kind of editorializes it in a sense when you think about it, right? Because it's insinuating maybe others haven't been. But anyway, about carbon capture, utilization, and storage, CCUs. This is not an advocacy forum. All speakers have been invited to share technical and policy background relevant to Louisiana. Advanced questions are welcome following the presentations. So that means you're going to have to write them down, and they probably won't let people speak. So this event is organized to inform the public on a complex issue affecting our local and state economy, energy systems, and environment. It's not intended to promote or oppose any specific project or policy. Now, I did notice that you'd gotten a question from your post about it last night. Do you think this is a done deal and all of these meetings are just for show?
And I think a lot of people are asking, is this one of those mandated public meetings? It is not. It is put on by local leaders to what they say is just give people information, but they are required to have meetings before they do get certain permits, right?
Right.
From what we understand. So it's a long process. I don't know if it's a done deal. You just never know the way politics ebbs and flows, and this is what it is politics now.
One commenter, Phillips, said, most carbon captured in the U.S. is used for enhanced oil recovery, which actually facilitates more fossil fuel extraction and largely cancels out any purported climate benefits. CCS projects are expensive, energy intensive, and have consistently underperformed with no large-scale success stories despite billions of investment. Al Gore get-rich-quick pyramid scheme.
And I know we know this, and our listeners know this, but there is a lot of pushback in these smaller communities. You know, your Colines, your DeVilles, over in Allen Parish, Vernon Parish. Those small communities are not very happy. They think that they are getting pushed over by rich politicians. Companies. And there's been a big issue and a lot of rumors when it comes to eminent domain. We talked to Gabe Furman, state representative in Grant Parish, about this. They did pass a bill that the government cannot take your land with eminent domain over a carbon capture project.
Right.
So that's one thing. You would have to voluntarily and be compensated if they were going to run pipes under your ground.
Right. Well, it remains a very heated issue, and people feel very strongly about it. Of course, I think you have competing interests here. Obviously, a lot of people understand the importance of a project like SunGas, what it could potentially mean for Central Louisiana, in terms of its economic impact and benefits, jobs, taxes, all those sorts of things. Having the port there on the side of Pineville as well, but then. When we had SunGas on the show, they were clear that if they cannot do the carbon capture component of this project, now they're not a carbon capture company, they don't store it. What they do is they capture it in their manufacturing process, but then that carbon they capture has to go somewhere. And so that's where you have that Central Louisiana Hub project that it's being called, they would be the type of company that would take that carbon and they would put it in the ground somewhere, supposedly Rapides and Vernon parishes.
I know SunGas is very adamant about saying, hey, we are not a carbon capture company. But I mean, if you only operate with carbon capture, it's not like you can deflect it the whole time, right?
That's true.
And they have been answering questions, and they've been very open, I think. And they sat down and talked with me for a long time. But they were serious, like pretty much if we don't have the carbon capture technology in this area somewhere, we can't operate.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of guy, me personally, to where I think just because we say jobs and economic boost, which is very vague and arbitrary sometimes, doesn't mean that we should just do it. But it's just one of those, it seems to be unproven technologies that people are a little bit hesitant about. And you can understand why. So.
Absolutely. Can understand why. All right, 442-8255 is our phone number. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Stephen, I think you misunderstand eminent domain. Eminent domain means, yeah, they always pay you, but it means that the government can take your land and you have no say about it.
No, but the bill, from what they told us, they can't do it for a carbon capture project.
And that's good. But when you were talking about it, you said that they have to pay you. And so maybe I misunderstood, but it sounded like you thought that eminent domain meant that they don't have to pay you.
No. I meant to say that if they do, if the project goes through, the landowners have to agree to it and be compensated.
Have to agree. Okay, that's excellent news.
Yeah.
This is one of the areas I disagree with President Trump on.
The law, the bill that they passed, and the governor has not signed it yet, it would limit eminent domain for carbon pipelines. The bill limits the use of eminent domain for carbon pipeline projects to only those, quote, classified as common carriers. So if the pipeline is deemed that it would serve the broader public interest and not just a single company, they could still use it for that, but it would block private developers from forcibly acquiring land for carbon pipelines unless their projects meet that common carrier standards. So that does feel like a little bit of a loophole. It does raise the bar, but it still does allow for it in some cases. So if all of a sudden they determine, you know what, these pipelines will be beneficial to everyone because we're taking carbon and putting it in the ground and not into the air, you know, that to me feels like a little bit of a slippery slope, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And that's one thing I disagree with President Trump on. He favors eminent domain when it's taking land for what he calls, and people who like that call public benefit. And yeah, you can say anything about that. We have to respect the property of the individual, and that's part of being a republic, where the individual is sovereign. They've used that law to take homes oftentimes, and there's all kind of, you know, I'm not going to bore you with all the stories, but Rand Paul talks a lot about it. We've got to guard against that, because like you said, it is a slippery slope, and what you can make a case and say anything will benefit society, so you lose your property. I don't want that stuff under my feet, and they don't either, or they'd be living here. They're not putting it, in the middle of Alexandria. They're not putting it in. Anyways, I don't want to get too negative, but thank y'all for putting out the word. I hate to hear that they're not going to take any questions, spontaneous questions, because I plan on going, and there's something they're going to say that I'm going to want to question, but I won't know it in advance. I won't be able to submit that question in advance. That to me is a sign that they want to control the narrative and not let any dissenting voices out. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for what you do. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you so much.
And that article you're reading, it says another key provision in the bill would remove existing legal language that labels greenhouse gas sequestration as a public good.
Okay.
Thereby shifting the determination of public benefit to the courts in disputes over land expropriation.
So it depends what courts you get.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. We're going to get to the bottom of it today.
Yeah, no,
it's confusing.
It is, and I think, Stephen, it also speaks to, more than ever, the average American citizen is becoming very distrustful of their political leaders. And I see that I don't know if fear is the right word, but even when I was at Philadelphia Church watching that forum, people are thinking about not the right now benefit, but what about 50 years from now, 100 years from now? I mean, this is a technology that at this point, how proven is it? And when you had an example of what happened in Mississippi, it just takes one incident like that to make you go, wow, I don't know if this is worth it, especially when you're talking about carbon stored in the ground near aquifers and how it can even affect the mineral rights or the ability to drill for certain minerals in those areas in the future. I don't know. It's like I said, it is it's a battle of competing interests, economic development versus long-term public safety concerns.
Yeah, so, and I guess you could, to be fair, I guess you could say that about any technology we've used in the past.
Sure.
It's unproven till it is.
We're getting a little behind here. Let me take a break, and then I'll come back and explain a similar project I had some experience with.
KSYL. In Cenla, keeping your lawn looking great can be a real challenge. And that's why folks have been choosing our locally owned and operated company, Promo Fencing and Lawn Care. Promo can also be your local choice for fence installation and new landscape installs. They're real pros about it too, offering free estimates and financing for those bigger jobs, residential or commercial. Bring your vision to life with Promo Fencing and Lawn Care. Call 318-452-6265. 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
So what I was going to talk about before I took that break was when I lived in Rhineland or northern Wisconsin, there was a project called the Crandon Mine. It was a zinc and copper mine that was proposed for Forest County, an area that has been traditionally very poor, and this mine would have completely changed that. And it was actually first owned by Exxon, and then of course, that was in the 1990s, and it wasn't too much longer after the Exxon Valdez situation in Alaska, so that was kind of top of mind with people. They sold out to another company called Rio Algam, which had a lot of experience mining, especially uranium in Canada. And that was, again, a very contentious battle, which ultimately the mine couldn't get the permits from the Department of Natural Resources, which in Wisconsin, they have a very liberal DNR, so it wasn't completely surprising that happened, and the project kind of died. But along the way, I had a chance to do work with the Rio Algam folks, even went on a tour with them up in Canada, where they were showing us a city that had been the home of mining and how they had shut it down and converted it into like a retirement community and things like that. So, and it's the same, I'm hearing the same kind of concerns. What's this going to do long-term to our drinking water and our lakes and our streams and our rivers and our air and all of that. So ultimately, the people against it won out up there. You know, we'll see what happens down here. I know that there are people that feel very, very, very strongly that Central Louisiana needs this win economically. We need something like this. We don't get a lot of industries that want to come here. I know for looking at the things that the people with Sungas have been saying is they feel like this is a perfect project for them. It's a perfect area for them to do this. So, but then you have the people that absolutely don't want it.
I know there was the bill in the legislature to where they wanted to give local governments more power in deciding what comes through didn't pass.
Right.
But I've been talking to several people who are against the project or who are fighting for more answers on the phone. I'm not going to say who they are, but they just want to say.
Right.
That's what they're saying. They just want to be able to vote on if this can go through.
Right.
Now, I know we've been going back and forth about that law, SB 244. Basically, like Al was saying, it would use eminent domain powers only if their project is registered as common carrier serving the public. And it says in most circumstances, the restriction would bar the use of eminent domain for carbon pipelines serving only a single company. There's some other things in there we talked about too. So technically it could happen, but it would have to be a higher bar to be able to do that.
Absolutely. All right, let's take another call here on Talkback. Good morning. You are on Talkback.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm dead against carbon capture. I don't think I'll ever agree with it. But at any rate, bring me up to date on what happened in Mississippi. I'm not familiar with that, and I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. I'm going to have to look up the name of the town.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you have so many...
I got it now.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was a pipeline rupture in a place called Sartaria, Mississippi, I believe. Or it's Satartia. Satartia, maybe? Is that how you say it?
I have no idea.
Anyway, this is from NPR, by the way. Certainly not a conservative media outlet. February 22nd, 2020, a clear Saturday after weeks of rain, Damaris Debray Burns, his brother and cousin, decided to go fishing. They were heading home in a red Cadillac when they heard a boom and saw a big white cloud shooting into the evening sky. Burns first thought it was a pipeline explosion. He didn't know what was filling the air, but he called his mom, Thelma Brown, to warn her to get inside. He told her he was coming. Brown gathered her young grandchild and great-grandchildren she was watching, took them in the back bedroom, got under a quilt, and waited. They didn't come, Brown says. 10 minutes, I knew they would have been here in 5 minutes, but they didn't come. Little did she know, her sons and nephews were just down the road in a Cadillac, unconscious, victims of a mass poisoning from a carbon dioxide pipeline rupture. As the carbon dioxide moved through the rural community, more than 200 people evacuated, and at least 45 people were hospitalized. Cars stopped working, hobbling emergency response. People lay on the ground shaking and unable to breathe. First responders didn't know what was going on. It looked like you were going through a zombie apocalypse, said Jack Willingham, the emergency director for Yazoo County. 3 years after the CO2 poisoning from the pipeline break, some in Satartia see the incident as a warning. At a critical moment for U.S. climate policy, the country is looking at a dramatic expansion of its carbon dioxide pipeline network, thanks in part to billions of dollars of incentives in last year's climate legislation. That is the key, folks, right there. It's this government money that is making this possible. Anyway, that was me inserting it. Last week, the Biden administration announced $251 million for a dozen climate projects that focus on CO2 transport and storage. The history of pipeline ruptures and their lasting effects was first reported in the Huffington Post in 2021 by the Climate Investigation Center. Huffington Post, very liberal publication, by the way. The center obtained recordings of 911 calls, shared them with NPR. There are now about 5,300 miles of CO2 pipelines in the U.S., but in the next few decades, that number could grow to more than 65,000 miles. But the rupture in Satartia underscores growing concerns across communities that face the prospect of more CO2 pipelines being built to address climate change. Safety advocates and community residents worry about pipeline safety and gaps in federal regulation. So that's essentially what it's all about. But the reason the emergency response was hampered was that vehicles use oxygen coming in, and they were just sucking in carbon dioxide, and it shut them down. So they couldn't even respond. So
yeah, you get the trepidation, and I think we all need to look into it more. And it's great that the community is involved with this. I think even if you agree with the project or not, it's great the community is involved. They're going to these meetings and they're trying to learn more about it and speak their piece.
Absolutely, as they should. All right, we're back right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
Hello, I'm Dr. Noah Miller. I'm the new guy at the clinics. I'm a family medicine physician from Vedrine, Louisiana, and I'm now accepting new patients. Call today for an appointment. The clinics offers a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, urgent and acute care, on-site lab and x-ray as well. Same-day appointments are available, and we accept most insurance and Medicare. Experience exceptional care at the clinics. 1587 North Bolton. Call 445-9823 or reach us online at theclinics.us. Looking forward to seeing you at the clinics.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
Another quick break. Okay, so reading deeper into this article that was published by NPR, Quoting from the Huffman Post article, they noted that today most of the carbon dioxide transported in pipelines is used for something called enhanced oil recovery. That's what one of your commenters had noted. Process where oil companies inject CO2 into oil wells to boost the pressure and pump out more petroleum. Currently, over 70% of carbon capture projects involve enhanced oil recovery. The CO2 in the pipeline that ruptured in Satartia was heading to an oil field where it would have been used to extract more oil.
And that's what Sungas was saying when they were in here. Like it's a proven technology when it comes to that. But the way when we're talking about using it for carbon capture, just storing under the ground, that's fairly new.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Right. And that's to help meet climate goals. The article says future projects for carbon capture won't involve extracting oil. They'll just simply store the CO2 deep underground. But there are still questions about carbon capture's viability as a climate solution. According to one person they interview here, his colleagues analyzed some of the world's largest carbon capture projects and found most of them underperformed on emission reduction targets, and most were over budget. He said, is this a good way to spend money to reduce emissions? The answer is no. The answer is definitely no. Ultimately, Huffman worries that many CO2 pipelines and carbon capture projects will end up extending the life of fossil fuel operations. The CO2 pipeline scheme is their lifeline, he said. So back in Satartia, the article closes. The gentleman we first referenced walks by the spot on the road where the Cadillac stalled and he lost consciousness. The site of the pipeline rupture is just through the trees, less than a half mile away. These days, he avoids that patch of road, saying, I always stay on the highway. I try my best not even to come down. In fact, he takes the long way to his mom's house. As for communities across the country getting new carbon dioxide pipelines, Burns says he hopes they get more safety precautions, but mainly he feels sorry for them. Wow.
I don't really at this point in time have an opinion on if it's good or bad. It's a very complicated situation. What I would have liked to seen is that bill passed to allow local communities to have a say in it. This is their home. A lot of them have been here for generations. They should have a say, not the state's economic board or lobbyists. It should be the local people if they want to have it or not. That's just my opinion.
That's what Chuck Owen was arguing in that Natural Resources Committee hearing when Jason DeWitt, who was on that board, noted to him that they agree on things almost 100% of the time, but that the Sungas folks had told him that if they can't do the carbon capture, they can't do the project. So I thought that was very telling soundbite.
Yeah.
And as they confirmed that when we had them here. Yep. So, all right, we have another call coming in. Good morning, you're on Talkback. Hello, good morning.
Hey, Al.
Hey.
This is Brendan.
Hey, yeah, Brendan, how you doing, sir?
Oh, doing fine, man. Enjoying the show this morning. We just are proud of the semi residents for coming together, and it's a tough topic to talk about. However, I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard my speech there at that meeting, and but we need to bring attention that this is a national problem, and there's a 2 Tier 6 sites in the nation right now. And one of those sites is, I would like everybody to go look at Decatur, Illinois. They had a leak there. But one of the things that Satartia, Mississippi, they reported on when the EPA first went in there, they said it was only like so many thousand barrels that leaked. And it leaked for 4 hours after they got the people out of there, because whenever you have a shutoff valve that's 15 miles apart, of course, now we talked about the regulations, they've gone down to 9 miles apart. But where that pipeline leak started, it still bled off for another 4 hours. So you got to consider that even though, now this is a pipeline, and that's buried 5 foot to 25 foot underground, the ground shifted, which we talked about, due to rain. And Louisiana is notorious for the amount of rainfall, especially whenever we get a hurricane. So if that pipeline ruptured, upset and disturbed a rural community like Satartia, think about what that 200 million ton site will do that's called the Cenla Hub.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a wrong wind and it is a east-southeast wind, that's going to blow that straight to Fort Polk, one of our military bases. And
hey, Brendan,
I don't want to alarm people.
We only have 10 seconds left in this hour. If you want to hang on or call back after the top of the hour and explain more, we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, this is a topic a lot of people are passionate about.
I've had someone from South Dakota email me.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting.
FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 8 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Day 7 of their conflict, an Iranian missile has hit the main hospital in southern Israel. Officials say no one was seriously injured, but the strike did cause extensive damage to the facility. CBS's Robert Berger reports from Jerusalem.
Israeli hospitals have had contingency plans now for years for this kind of event where hospitals might be targeted in a major war. So underground parking lots have been converted into hospital wards, and we've seen that now at several hospitals around the country.
Israel's carried out strikes on Iran's Arak heavy water reactor in the latest attack on the country's nuclear program. CBS News has learned President Trump has approved attack plans for Iran as an option, but he's holding off in case Tehran agrees to ditch its nuclear program. Correspondent Ed O'Keefe says military forces are on the move.
The White House is waiting for more U.S. military assets to arrive in the region. A mix of fighter aircraft, F-16s, F-22s, and F-35s are en route. And the USS Ford Carrier Strike Group is already deploying to Europe next week.
A day before summer officially arrives, a heat dome is spreading brutal temperatures across the country. CBS's Andres Gutierrez is in Las Vegas.
Today, it will once again perhaps reach up to 110 degrees, and this is going to be keeping paramedics on guard.
Temps are expected to climb into the 90s for the first time this year in New York City and Boston. New research suggests addiction to technology is bigger risk to kids than just screen time.
The study in the medical journal JAMA followed 4,000 10-year-olds. Half of them became addicted to their phones by age 14. Lead author Dr. Yunyu Shao says those kids were 2 to 3 times more likely to have thoughts of suicide, even if their screen time was relatively low.
It is not just about the time that is spent, but it's about the addictive behaviors.
The researchers say limiting screen time is not enough. Kids who are addicted to phones or video games may need cognitive behavioral psychotherapy. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
A SpaceX rocket blew up in spectacular fashion overnight in Texas.
Whoa! Whoa!
The Starship was set for a test when it burst into a huge fireball. CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood.
Engineers are going to be reviewing telemetry to figure out what went wrong. We don't know yet what might have caused this spectacular failure, or how much damage Starbase infrastructure might have sustained, or how long it might take to repair it.
No one was injured. SpaceX calls it a major anomaly. Another uncrewed SpaceX rocket exploded over the Indian Ocean a few weeks ago. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. Protect your auto, home, and business with Progressive and get 24/7 coverage. See if you can save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Are you over 50 and constantly feeling tired, bloated, or just a little off? Don't ignore it. Those could be signs that your liver is crying for help. As we age, our liver, which is essential for metabolism, digestion, immunity, and detoxification, needs extra support and protection. If neglected, it can leave you feeling sluggish and constantly off your game. That's where Active Liver from New Nordic comes in. Available in easy-to-take tablets or delicious gummies, Active Liver combines powerful natural ingredients like turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract to help support healthy liver function. With Active Liver, you're giving your body an essential daily defense against toxins from alcohol, fatty foods, and sweets, helping you reclaim your energy, improve digestion, lose the bloat, and strengthen your immunity so you can look and feel your best again. Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Jeff Palermo. LSU baseball fans are waking up in euphoria over the Tigers' come-from-behind 6-5 win over Arkansas to advance to the championship series of the College World Series. The Tigers scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. 2 years ago, LSU won in walk-off fashion to reach the title series, and Coach Jay Johnson says deja vu feels good.
I said this literally probably 2 years ago to the day, the walk-off homer, Tommy against Wake Forest. Like, I felt something in my body I've never felt before. And greatest moment of my life, and it now has it tied for first.
The championship series against Coastal Carolina will begin Saturday night. A class action lawsuit has been filed against CVS for sending a mass text message to its customers on the final day of the legislative session in a lobbying effort against a pharmacy benefit managers bill, which did not pass. Plaintiff's attorney Jerome Morrow wants to know what information was used by CVS.
How did they so quickly put all this together? And it truly was, it at least appeared to be to those who received it, something that was made with great scope and scale.
CVS says it did nothing wrong. LRN.
Success is about momentum. For over 20 years, Kinetics has been moving businesses forward with cutting-edge IT, cybersecurity, and marketing solutions while keeping them secure, innovative, and competitive. We power progress with next-gen business technology and marketing solutions designed to keep your business ahead of the competition. Need seamless IT, a bold new brand, a strategy built for what's next? Don't get left behind. Move forward with Kinetics. Visit kbisp.com and take the next step today.
Well, good morning. Mixed for sunshine and clouds on our Thursday, and a pretty nice day. We could see a stray shower or thunderstorm, but only a small chance. After all, it is Louisiana. Wind's going to be out of the southwest at about 5 to 10. Tonight, a few clouds. We'll get down to 74 for the overnight low. And then for our Friday, partly cloudy skies, again, a chance of a stray shower. Afternoon highs 94. That is our scenario now throughout the weekend. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian. Currently 75 degrees in Cenla.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
All right, we are back. Hour number 2 of Talkback here on KSYL. Al Quartermont, Stephen Maxwell. So last hour, we kind of got into a deeper discussion about carbon capture and sequestration, eminent domain, all of this as it relates to the Sungas project and the meeting that's coming up on June 30th at Keys Park. Calling in was Brendan Dubrock, a gentleman who's no stranger here to Central Louisiana, has worked a lot in government and was at the meeting at Philadelphia and had a chance to speak as what he called himself a whistleblower. Well, he called in and we didn't have a chance to let him kind of complete his thoughts because we were right at the top of the hour. So I invited him to come back again, put him on hold. And so let's resume with Brendan. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I know when you spoke in Philadelphia, you presented yourself as, quote, a whistleblower. What did you mean by that? I didn't understand quite what you meant as far as you being a whistleblower.
So it was some derogatory terms that was addressed and commented to me because, you know, it's no shock that I am a conservative Republican.
Right.
And, you know, Republicans are supposed to support oil and gas. And we do. However, I've been a conservationist for my whole life, working with coastal plans, coastal master plans, coastal restoration, endangered species or national forests, etc. So it's something I'm very passionate about. And you know, there was some name calling, you know, or just some accusations that, oh, you know, you're just a whistleblower, you're trying to get attention and this and that. And I'm like, well, you know what? We had 2 years to actually tell the public what was coming. And I feel like they just talked about the positives. Mm-hmm. The positives. It's going to create jobs. It's going to bring back logging. It's going to bring back this. And I'm going, yeah. I said, the Sungas website looks great. I said, but however, nobody's going to the actual website called Beaver Lake Renewables. And that's where it says right there that they're capturing carbon. They're going to CCS it and they're going to pipeline it out. So everybody was going to the Sungas website because that's what they were looking at because that's the company name. But then they put this information of what they're actually doing on Beaver Lake Renewables. And one of the things that upset me was seeing whenever it didn't go to the parishes for a decision, and a fellow colleague of mine, a good friend of mine, we actually talked in the hallway at the Capitol, and I'm like, we need to let the parishes have a say in this, and the people have a say in this across all 64 parishes. And he explained the reason why he didn't want to do that was because, let's just say LaSalle, Grant, or whatever voted no, then, and let's just say Caddo Parish wanted it, not saying that they do, that could prevent Caddo Parish from getting that site in that parish. Yeah. I'm using these parishes as examples, not actual literal.
Who was that you were talking to again?
I don't want to say that name.
Okay.
I want to keep that private.
Gotcha.
Okay, because whenever we have those discussions, when it comes to how...
I just wasn't sure if I had missed who you had said. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, pardon?
I said I wasn't sure if I had missed who you had said, but you didn't say the name specifically.
No, because here's the thing that I don't like, okay, is, and I want to make this clear, that we can have disagreements on issues, but whenever we have local legislators that work for us and they've done a wonderful job, I'm not calling for people to go out there and send them threats and, unelect them or whatever. That's not what this is about. People need to learn that we can have civil conversations and debates and not always agree on a certain topic.
Right.
So that we're not calling for nobody to get unseated, or I'm not calling for me to get unseated and don't want them. But, unfortunately, we have some people out there now that have sent nasty messages, have gone to people's houses, and we don't want people to do that. That's not right. I mean, this is a private company, and I'm trying to voice and let people know that, unfortunately, some people, they live in a bubble. They live in their own little world and don't look at all the issues that's arising across Louisiana, but also that's arising across our nation. I mean, I know Iowa's fighting this hard. South Dakota, and but one of the things that I want to go back on the topic is they're selling this to the public as we've been doing this for 35 years. This is, just like EOR. It is not that. My grandfather was a superintendent for Transworld before they got bought out in the oil and gas company. Yes, they used this for enhanced oil recovery, but they didn't store it. It didn't, it's not pipelining this. They have to cool this liquid gas and turn it into a liquid gas to build a pipeline.
Right.
So whenever you're seeing carbon emissions going to the air, there's nothing wrong with that. This all started with, I'm going to go way back. And if you really do some research, it actually started with under the Bush administration in 2008. So that's how far back this goes. But the technology was never there. It was just talks. And then it really got pushed during the next President Obama's era, because that's whenever the Paris and the EU nations were wanting that Green New Deal. We've got to save the planet, climate change. We all know the Greta story, and that's whenever everybody was like, man, we got to do something. So they're actually, the 45 tax Q credit, it gets slipped into these big, massive bills that we got to stop making it so much a big bill of 1,000 pages, right, where these other little things get pushed in, but I know they're on a time limit and it's a time schedule, but it really took off. That's whenever Sungas announced in 2019, I believe, 20, they were coming, because it did get started and really pushing the Green New Deal. And that's what they keep saying. It's a global market. which is true.
Yeah,
it is true. Norway's doing it, but there's European countries that are saying, no, we're not putting it in our ground. We're going to ship this off into the North Sea. So Norway is actually going to go pipeline it off into the ocean and put it in the ground out there. And that was one of my topics, or one of my debates is, why not use some of these old oil sites that we have in the Gulf of America and put it out there if we have to, you know. But my main concern too is the safety hazards that you're talking about, because whenever you know, I talked to Wayne Christensen, he's the railroad commissioner for Texas. And then there's actually, I have an article, I can't remember who it is, but there's actually several oil and gas company CEOs that said this is not the same as EOR. They're going to sell it as enhanced oil recovery. But this, you know, it reacts with the ground minerals. So it's just so unknown right now.
Right.
But whenever you see leaks and you see the incidents, that was just a pipeline in Mississippi. You see that, you know, one of the tier 6 sites in North America right now, in Decatur, Illinois, is leaking already.
Yeah, there's an NPR article I found. It said the nation's first commercial carbon sequestration plant is in Illinois. It leaks. That's the headline.
It leaks.
And that's NPR, which is not conservative news.
No. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, that we have gotten the Louisiana legislation and the governor's attention on this. The governor has stayed neutral on it. And the same thing right now, Trump is kind of staying neutral on it. But we're hoping that the EPA kind of will kind of adjust some of their laws and rules. But we're hoping now people will contact the ones that's running for Senate and hear their stance on it, because we have a feeling that this is going to go to the Supreme Court. Have you guys looked up House Bill 75? Louisiana House Bill 75?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so I'm going to read the just the breakdown of it. This was passed in regular session this past year. Okay. So House Bill 75, I'm just going to read the abstract of it. So this establishes a minimum per acre compensation for non-consenting landowners within a carbon dioxide storage unit and requires unit operators to compensate non-consenting mineral owners within a unit for the value of stranded minerals. Okay? And it reimburses them for the additional cost required by the Department of Energy and Natural Resources to drill through the unit.
Okay.
That bill failed.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It failed. So they're going to use this to go to landowners and say, hey, if there's minerals in your ground and you don't consign the consent for this, you will not be compensated.
Wow.
So this was going to allow those landowners that, hey, I'm not consenting to this, but I'm protecting my mineral rights. Well, now they have this failed. So it doesn't protect the landowners. I'm like going, my mouth is dropped. You know, my mouth dropped. You can go on the legis.la.gov and just type in House HB 75 Louisiana. It was a bill introduced by Danny McCormick, and you know, you can see the voting record. I mean, this is something that I believe a lot of people are not used to. They're not used to people going back and seeing how they voted, and we can pull up stuff and records from years past. You know, due to technology and social media, that this is, I believe, a good thing. I think it's a good thing for elected officials, for people to see how you vote, you know, and how do you represent the people.
Yeah, I'm seeing locally the people who voted for that, and that would be for the rights of landowners, right? Included Gabe Furman, Chuck Owen, Rodney Shammerhorn, Jason DeWitt, among those who voted.
Rhonda Butler.
Yes, and those who voted.
He's South Rapids.
Okay. Rhonda Butler, right? Among those who voted against it Mike Johnson. Interesting. Ed Larbanine.
Ed Larbanine, yep.
Yeah. So,
So, you know, and this is concerning to me, you know, because of stuff like that. But you know, so there's so many bills that we have to keep track of, and that's why the term whistleblower was used, because I was called that. Because if people don't know the exact bill to go look up, they just don't know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, Sungas is going to come in here and they're going to say, "Oh, it's not us. It's not us." Well, they admitted that if they can't capture their carbon and pump it over to the Sinlot hub, that they can't sell the fuel in the global market. Here's my take on this. I know that the U.S. Navy and the Air Force are looking at these fuels, okay, because they're low emission burners. The market is right here in the United States. They don't have to sell that. For me, my thoughts, this is my personal beliefs, we have so much use. We're the largest military on the planet Earth, and they could sell that fuel to the U.S. Navy, to the Air Force.
But isn't Maersk investing in this plant to where they would almost have to do it to comply to have them as that customer?
Pardon?
I said, isn't Maersk, though, financially invested in this project to where they're one of the companies that are requiring that carbon capture component? Because my understanding is the price, if you don't capture the carbon, the price is too high in the global market. You can't really move it there. Is it Maersk's involvement in this project that would prohibit what you're saying, just produce it anyway, but then sell it to like our military?
You know, Al, that I do not know. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I don't know the answer to that.
Sure.
Because, like I said, that was just a thought that, you know, I read a lot, and then I noticed that the U.S. Navy wanted to buy this stuff.
Yeah.
So
that might be a solution. You may actually hit on something. Tell you what, we need to take a break. Do you want to hang with us a little more?
Sure.
Okay.
I can talk more.
All right, hang on. We'll come back. Brendan Dubrock is talking with us, called in, and we'll continue here on Talkback.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
So, June has finally arrived, and you don't have to have a thermometer to tell it's hot outside. Keep your home comfortable all year long with Southern Air. Now through the end of June, get a comprehensive AC tune-up for only $69 per system. Book your appointment by the 30th to lock in this special offer. Don't wait until your cooling system fails on the hottest day of the year. Act now, let us bear it. Visit southernairnow.com or call 318-777-5555.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BON Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BON Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talkback.
All right, if you're just joining us, in the last hour, we got into a conversation about carbon capture, talking about the meeting coming up in Pineville on June 30th, and Brendan Dubrock called in. He's the gentleman that spoke at the meeting that was held at Philadelphia Baptist Church a week ago Monday. Termed himself as a whistleblower because he's trying to call attention for people to certain bills and other information that they're not really aware of when it comes to kind of the whole larger issue of carbon capture and sequestration. And Brendan, as we come back to you, you've been in Louisiana government circles for a long time. This has been kind of your career path. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So it was kind of a path that I didn't expect. It kind of got popped on me with when Eddie Rispone ran for governor. I'm good friends with his brother, and then I got to meet Eddie, and we were talking about him running for governor, and I love Doc. Doc and I have a great relationship. Dr. Abraham. We had breakfast the other day, and he laughs, because my mom was for him, but I was, helping Eddie run for governor back then. So that's when I kind of started the political realm, and then we had Edwards. But then I discovered with my background in tourism and conservation, and I'm a stickler for litter. I could go on and talk to you about, Louisiana taxpayers. We pay $91.3 million a year for litter cleanup.
Wow. And you worked for Lieutenant Governor Nungesser for a while, correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So I actually, I'm best friends with one of his cousins that lives down in Kenner, and Billy and I met and share, and we became friends, and then I was able to start going on the road with him. And then I love that aspect of the tourism industry, because I want to promote Louisiana, because, that saves each household. Tourism dollars saves each household about $1,200 a year in state taxes.
Wow.
The tourism industry alone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of my concerns about if we start having these leaks and stuff. Do people want to come to Louisiana? Will they want to come to see, if we have a Saratoga, Mississippi, a national incident where it makes national news, how's that going to affect the overall picture? So that's how my brain thinks, is how can we promote Louisiana? How can we keep it clean? So I had a wonderful time working for the Lieutenant Governor. I was his liaison, and basically I would cover events that he was not able to attend. I welcomed the Bassmasters Classic to Toledo Bend, and then spoke on his behalf, gave a good speech, and then I was also welcomed the Major League Fishing group to Toledo Bend. Made wonderful contacts through that office, nationally known people that want to come to Louisiana and film. So we've had several companies come and do some fishing filming. We had a guy from Canada come this past year to promote Louisiana, and he fished on Lake D'Arbonne, and then also fished on Toledo Bend. And I've been really trying to get Alexandria, our new social media guys and ladies that are doing that for tourism for the CVB, are doing a wonderful job. But I think we could really focus on, Central Louisiana is a great hub for outdoor activities.
Yes.
I'm on the Louisiana Equine Council right now, and I'm probably going to be the next president for that. That's a state organization, and we have, that's a $2 billion industry, the horse industry in Louisiana. And we have a lot of people that come down with their horses and that are called snowbirds, and they go and stay south of Woodworth in the Milder area. There's actually camps that look like houses with horse corrals and stuff. And they come down here and stay and ride our Kisatchie National Forest trails.
Wow.
So then it kind of grew from there. I got involved more with my mother and friends being with the Refuge Women's Republican group. I got involved with them. So then we started going to the Capitol more. And of course, I was working for Lieutenant Governor at that time. And then the next thing I know, I've always had a great friendship with Elbert Guillory. I respect him highly.
Yes.
He is very well educated and well spoken, and then he made me his District 6 U.S. Congressional District 6 coordinator. I did go to D.C. had conversations with at that time Garrett Graves, who was that congressional district representative, and I got to see the ins and outs of D.C. and got to learn a lot about how it trickles down you think of separation between government entities, let's say DC, state, local, mayor, city council, police jury, but it really is so intertwined. It really is so deeply intertwined. And because what a bill passes in, let's say, Baton Rouge, that can affect your police jury, and it can affect your road. So, it's really a vast working system that I've become just fascinated with and love. But my passion is tourism and promoting Louisiana and our festivals and stuff like that. So, and keep Louisiana beautiful. That's one of the biggest initiatives in the Lieutenant Governor's office, is that. We all hear that and see it in April. And then I got involved in coastal restoration projects. Last year, I was a part of a group that we planted 22,000 plants. And yesterday I got a phone call from one of my dear friends, and she says, "Brendan, you're not going to believe this, but where we planted all those trees and bushes, there's now baby pelicans and birds that was bare dirt that DU and ConocoPhillips built these terraces to save Highway 1 between Port Fourchon and Grand Isle. And now these birds have nested on those bushes and plants that we planted. So it's a conservation effort, and that's just something that I've been a part of my whole life, from adopted manatees. I adopted a sea turtle for my wife, and so when it comes to carbon capture, and it all ties into something that I'm just passionate about, and I'm passionate about protecting Louisiana as a whole.
Tell you what, we need to take a break. I'll bring you back for one more segment, okay?
Okay.
All right, back right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics, with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute.
It's one small step for man.
And now, 56 years after U.S. astronauts' lunar landing, a Texas home builder is shooting for the moon with a plan to build there.
Icon's Project Olympus is a robotic, autonomous construction system specifically for the moon and eventually Mars.
Evan Jensen, VP of Strategic Research and Development at Texas-based Icon.
Essentially, you bring just the tools and none of the materials, and you can build what you need to live off the land.
On Earth, Icon uses special concrete and 3D printers to build. In the lunar plan, the autonomous robot could use regolith or moon dust and be
able to build things like landing pads, roads, protective structures, eventually habitats.
Icon space architect Melanie Ashar says the shape of space structures will be different from your typical home.
We conceived of a torus-shaped habitat that could house a crew of 4 astronauts.
And Yashar says this could all be only a couple of decades away. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Craving mouth-watering barbecue and juicy steaks? Head on over to Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse, the top barbecue and steakhouse in Alexandria. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere is the perfect setting for a night out with friends or a family dinner. Indulge in our premium barbecue and steaks, fresh salads, and handcrafted burgers. Come as you are, we're ready to serve you. Visit Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse today on Coliseum Boulevard across from the Rapides Parish Coliseum. Expect real good food.
A message from Israel Air Conditioning and Heating.
Yeah, my mama, she told me to pick up and call Israel Air. She told me Israel Air. She told me. She said they'll come running with comfort beyond compare.
At a very fair price.
Because we're all about your comfort, no troubles. Call 442-6657. That's 442-6657. We're all about your comfort.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your personal information. You might even use things like 2-factor authentication and strong passwords. But as much as you try to control how your info is protected, there are other places that also have it. and they may not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name Clay as the promo code at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Well, good morning. Mixed with sunshine and clouds on our Thursday, and a pretty nice day. We could see a stray shower or thunderstorm, but only a small chance. After all, it is Louisiana. Wind's going to be out of the southwest at about 5 to 10. Tonight, a few clouds will go down to 74 for the overnight low. And then for our Friday, partly cloudy skies, again, a chance of a stray shower. Afternoon highs 94. That is our scenario now throughout the weekend. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian. Currently 75 degrees in Cenla.
Now back to Talk Back, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
All right, we've been talking with Brendan Dubrock about carbon capture, conservation here in the States. And I guess, Brendan, as we bring you back, just one last thing I want to ask you. Do you see conservation and the Sun Gas Project as mutually exclusive, or can it be something that works together if that carbon capture component isn't part of it?
So one of the things that whenever we got some funding for our coastal projects, I want to commend Woodside Energy out of Australia. They were a big partner with that. They're coming to Lake Charles. So we use, and then also ConocoPhillips. They were a big part of that. That was a $2.5 million project that there's still construction going on. We did the phase 4 planting. There's different phases of planning because we can't do it all at one time because that's all volunteer based. So yes, I think that if Sun Gas is willing to do that, because there are tax credits out there for planting trees, you know, that is available. Yeah. I think there could be a mix of, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, Al and Stephen and the listeners, that due to the fact that this is a national issue and it's also a global issue, it's going to be a tough fight to stop CCS. So I think that we need to bring awareness to it. We need to train our volunteers or our firemen, but I'm also hoping that Sun Gas will coordinate with groups across the state and donate to coastal conservation and to plants. You know, the pine needles are not a broadleaf. We need more broadleafed oak trees because those are the ones that really capture the carbon and turn that into oxygen. The earth needs that, and the black mangrove that is planted along the coast, it helps with coastal restoration and from erosion. And the black mangrove is one of the top carbon capturers in the world. They're planting them in Italy. There's a group that's called Mang that I know very well. They're based out of Florida, and they're going all over the world with these mangroves and planting them because coastal erosion is a major issue around the globe. Right. And but that also captures carbon. And another thing is I hope they would consider what's called soil regeneration. Sorry. That is where, you know, our earth and our soil is a major capture. They capture carbon. The roots and the earthworms and the bugs, they have to have that carbon. So capturing carbon, it's just a minute. It's not going to make a difference in this thing called, you know, climate change that people want to laugh about, so people take it serious. I think it's a fine mix between both. You know, that. So I'm hoping Sun Gas will sit at the table with some of our state's groups and say, hey, we'll donate this to some projects. I think we need some reforestation around, you know, central Louisiana. I would love to see that. But I know pine is a marketable timber, and I don't want to affect that because Mike Strain and I are good friends, and forestry is our number one agricultural entity in Louisiana.
Right.
Number one by far.
Yep.
So followed by grain and then cattle. So we understand that and we respect that. I'm not saying we don't. I'm not a tree hugger. Let's cut these trees down. Let's harvest them what they're intended for. However, I think we as humans, we need to also replace what we've affected.
For sure.
So we could even do. There's so much projects and minds and stuff that I have. I could talk to you guys for a day and have lunch with you guys and show y'all some things. But
hey, if you're buying, we're going.
Yeah. Hey, I'll buy. Yeah, I'll buy. So, but yeah, it's just but we just want to stress that now Louisiana has woken up. And I'm so happy for that because I felt bad for Vernon and Allen because it seemed like they were the only ones fighting this, and we kind of stood back. And then I'm like, man, people don't realize that it's coming right here in Pineville. What's going on? And then I'm like, man, there's one in Winsboro, and then the DAC plant, which is direct air capture in Shreveport. And I'm like, why is nobody bringing attention to this? And then because they like to do that, but keeps things kind of hush and quiet, and all in the name of economic development, which we want. We need that in Cenla. We're not saying that we don't need that, but so yeah. Back to the topic. I think Sungas. We welcome them with open arms. That's why they're going to say it's 95% positivity that they've received, and that's true because for the last 2 years, nobody's ever said anything about the other side that Danaberry, which got bought out by ExxonMobil, will pipeline that out. They will get the tax credits. And so now I think it's time that the listeners and the people that, we shift our focus. We need to contact Kennedy. We need to contact Letlow and Mike Johnson, their offices, and Clay Higgins. They're all great people. But, when the nation is saying, wait, hold up, and the farmers are saying, we don't want that across our farm. And, once they come across your farm or your land, they have 24/7 access, 365 days a year without giving you notice. They could show up and go down your farm, go across your land at 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And that's just something that I think that's one of the last privileges we have in America is, one of our major privileges, not our last privilege, let me rephrase that, is the right to private property.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys, and thank y'all for talking about this and bringing this topic to light.
Anytime. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate your time and some of the insights that you've given, and hopefully people have a little more perspective about all of this after we've talked with you. Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Brendan Dubrock.
Carbon capture. I think it's going to stay in the news here a while.
You're doing a deep dive now, aren't you?
I got to look into it.
I've been doing it for a while just because this has been going on. But
I was in Shreveport. We kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really affecting a lot of people in Caddo, or people just weren't catching on yet. So we heard about it. We just didn't really look into it too much. It wasn't us.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. More Talkback coming up.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
All of us have that one friend who can just light up the room with a smile. And sadly, how many of us are just a little bit envious of that friend? Well, here's the good news. The folks over at Today's Dental in Pineville can deliver that beautiful beaming smile. Over the years, hundreds of hopeful patients have visited and been completely satisfied. They've made getting dental implants an amazingly simple, low-anxiety procedure, one that's affordable for anyone's budget. The staff at Today's Dental go out of their way to make you feel comfortable with calming in-office IV sedation that's administered by a highly skilled, certified nurse anesthetist. And their multiple finance options make the entire procedure truly affordable. Isn't it your turn to light up that room? Give Today's Dental a call at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Gauthier. That's 448-4540.
Live from the red carpet where the stars shine brighter than the spotlight. It's the moment we've been waiting for. From stunning to jaw-dropping, the red carpet has it all tonight. First up, Perfection Pays, especially intense. Score a 10 and play perfect tens from the lottery. Win up to $5,000. It's the perfect time to win. Next up, triple the fun, triple the cash. Why settle for one prize when you can triple up? Play triple play, win up to $12,000. The glitter, the glamour. This ticket is fabulous. Play Fab 5. Top prize, $155,555. Follow the red carpet to any lottery retailer and pick up perfect tens, triple play, and Fab 5 today. Louisiana Lottery, giving you a reason to shine. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Tell me what's going on. What's going on in Cenla?
Check this out.
Laugh out loud as the City Park Players present a heartwarming comedy, Making God Laugh, on Hearn Stage at Chris Theater downtown, running June 12th through 22nd. Get tickets and details at cpptheater.com.
Come to the first ever One Love Paint Party Jam on Friday evening, June 20th at the For the Love of Alexandria Boutique on Dorchester. Painting, live DJ, BYOB. Get the details at For the Love of Alexandria on Facebook.
And whatever you do, don't miss our Central Louisiana Independence Day celebrations. Alexandria, Pineville, and other local communities will be lighting up the skies in the name of freedom. Come party with us.
Feeling hungry? Join us for a hearty breakfast at the Clubhouse at Beulah Lake Airport in Pineville, Saturday morning, July 5th, from 7 till 9. Get all you want to eat and drink for just a $10 donation.
Cenla Broadcasting.
Welcome home.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. Talk back.
And we are back once again to Alan Stephen with you. Again, thanks to Brendan Dubrock. Just impromptu call that led to a deeper conversation. And the reason I took the time with that is because I realized that a lot of people still in our area are not really up to speed on what all the issues are with carbon capture. And just information is power to me. And that's what this show is all about, is giving people more information, regardless of how you feel about the issue. It's important that we know about it so that we can speak intelligently toward it. And
hey, we ain't got a 2-minute time frame. We can give all the information right here.
Exactly. I love doing deep dives into things. So that was cool.
We'll have more, and I'll have a report tonight on Cenla Broadcasting in my Facebook page. We'll have something.
It is so top of mind right now. I mean, there's no question about that. And, it's funny because the Sungas project was announced a couple of years ago already, but it's only recently that it's become more of the talking points about carbon capture related to it, that all of a sudden now it's all getting renewed attention. And this comes as Sungas is making a lot of progress now with permitting process and looking at beginning construction soon and things like that. So yeah.
It's a weird thing too, because the IP mill side has been something that people in Pineville have been wanting to see develop for quite some time, and then they were excited, and a lot of them were like, wait, pushing the brakes a little bit.
Yep. And we understand the importance of this project to Central Louisiana. We're an area that we don't get a lot of industry. I think people just want to make sure that this is done right and proper. And some would like it to be done without the carbon capture component. Although, as we've chronicled for you, Sungas has made it clear that is going to be a key. So
I guess what the next step would be, if it gets approved and they are going to do carbon capture, what would the next step be for citizens? But if you can't fight the project, is it more stringent oversight? Do they want more clarity on that? I mean, kind of moving forward after that process.
Yeah, exactly. So again, 442-8255, if you guys would like to weigh in on what we've been talking about so far. We got a couple more things we want to dive into with our remaining time, but let's go on the phones with the BOM Bank talk line. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Okay, so I missed the presentation that you're just discussing.
Okay.
Carbon, the material that's going to go in a pipeline.
Right.
Does it have to go straight down into central Louisiana, or can it go east, west, north, or south away from central Louisiana?
Yeah, theoretically, it could go anywhere. But now SunGas is not the one that's deciding where it would go. That is another project that's known as the Cenla Hub. And the Cenla Hub is a carbon capture storage project, a separate project, but their sites for storing would be in Rapides and Vernon parishes.
Well, why do they have to be in Rapides and Vernon Parish?
That's a good question. That is a good question. And that kind of goes back to some of the bills that Chuck Owen was putting forth saying, hey, the citizens of Rapides and Vernon Parish and every parish in Louisiana need to have a say-so in this. They shouldn't have to just accept that it's going to be done without really having a voice about that.
Yeah, I mean, why can't it go back to Mississippi where they had the leak?
Right, it could go anywhere. And even Brendan, when we had him on, was saying, why not use some of these old wells in the Gulf? And if you had a pipeline that went out to some of those, because there are places around the world where, for example, which country did he say? The Netherlands or somewhere, they're storing it in the North Sea. So, but no, the proposal under the Cenla Hub, different project again than SunGas, proposed pipeline, they would collect CO2 at the port of Caddo Bossier, the blue methanol facility there, as well as the Haynesville natural gas facilities, and that CO2 would be stored in Vernon and Rapides parishes. So effectively, we become the storage sites for those manufacturers who aren't even in our area.
Okay, well, sort of smells bad to me.
Yeah, I think the more people are finding out about it, the more they're very concerned about it. So again, SunGas is not saying we're going to put this in the ground in Rapides, but they would have their carbon taken away by a company like the Cenla Hub, and the Cenla Hub is the one that would put it there. So, I mean, yes, technically they're producing the byproduct that would be put into the ground here, but that's not what their business does. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it more or less sounds like pie in the sky to me. Sort of like the Cowboy Town project.
I think their project is more viable than the Sundrop Fuels project, because they do actually have some end customers, and this is being done now more around the world. But I do think that the whole carbon capture component of it is what's really making people pause about it at this point. So thank you so much. Let's try one more call before we need to take another break. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Hello, I was asking if you could tell me, how long has SunGas been in business?
Their company's been around for a little while, but I was doing some research on them, and they've done most of their projects in Europe, I believe. I think this is the first kind of major project they're doing in the United States. I'd have to go back and review some of my research on that. Let me see if I can find.
Google says 5 years.
5 years, okay.
And do you know what their success rate with these projects are?
I don't. Actually, they've had several projects in China. So with Denmark, China, using coal. So
they claim it's a 98% failure rate in the first year, but that's after they get the money from the government.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
So it sounds to me like it's a climate change scam.
It is. I don't think there's any question that a lot of the money or the funding has a government component to it, and we have been saying that, and that was asked to them if they weren't getting those Q45. I think it's Q45 is the term. Those dollars, would this project be viable? And that's fair. I think that's fair to ask, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We need to take a quick break. Back after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
The clinics welcome Dr. Noah Miller, family medicine physician, to our team. Dr. Miller from Vadrine, Louisiana, is now accepting new patients. Call today to schedule your appointment. The clinics offers a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, urgent and acute care with on-site lab and x-ray. Same-day appointments are available, and we accept most insurance and Medicare. Experience exceptional care at the clinics, 1587 North Bolton. Call 445-9823 or look us up online at theclinics.us.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Sinla's best at Bricato's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
To further answer that guy's question, if you go to sungasrenewables.com/projects, you can see all the projects they've been involved in through the years and where they've been located. Domestically, the only one I think they've had so far was in Hawaii, and that was back in 1998 and 1999. A lot of their other projects have been in places like Denmark, China. I stand corrected. They have a flex fuel pilot plant in Chicago that opened in 2003 that's still open. But you can see the timeline of projects that they show. Let's take another call. Good morning. You are on Talkback.
Hey, Al and Steve, boy, this has been a great show. I hope y'all put it on the weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I mean, this is, like I said, it needs to go on the weekend show. I hope that man will come back and talk again. And we need information. And you're right, Al. Information is power. But I wish everybody to have a happy Juneteenth. I hope Stephen Maxwell will do an article on Juneteenth. And I saw where Urban Cast did one, so I hope you'll do one on that too, Steve.
Are there any events today? I was trying to look that up just now.
I think it's Mount Zion or Mount Triumph has.
That thing tonight, yeah. 6 o'clock, yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to make that because you're a busy man. But you at the Alexandria City Council, I'm glad you'll be covering the local stuff. Sometimes KLB and KLEX, they never show up. So we need some citizen journalists like you to show up.
Well, thank you. It's always good to go to those meetings, even if there's nothing on the agenda. You just never know.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, God bless y'all, and thank y'all so much for informing us.
All right, thanks.
you.
Appreciate it. Another call. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning. Darren Woods, the CEO of Exxon, was on television the other day talking about the European Union and the restrictions that they are renewing or continuing to pass as on all of the processes that they have to the fuel companies. And if they don't include these processes, they can't sell their fuel into the Europe market, the European Union market. And that is the restrictions that Sunglass has. It's not the fact that they have to carbon capture, but if they don't carbon capture, they won't let them sell their fuel in Europe. And that's kind of the basis of this company.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right.
It's all based on made up fake industry by liberal governments.
Well, that's what Sungas said. They said if Europe isn't going to buy it and that's their standards, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Darren Woods said it affects when the European Union does that, it affects their operations worldwide. And because they won't let them, if something wasn't produced a certain way, even in Indonesia, they won't let them sell it in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the climate change activism that's and if you want economic development, you don't want fake economic development. You want real economic development.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the call. That was kind of the point Brendan was making is, does it have to be European clients at the end of the day. If our military, for example, were looking to more use that, but is that enough of a client, I guess would be the question. So we're going to have a lot more discussion about this, I know, in the coming months as this project continues to move forward.
But you got a lot of people in the world, this isn't our opinion, there's a lot of people in the world and the nation who believe that just as we believe maybe carbon capture could be dangerous, they believe too much carbon in the atmosphere could be dangerous. So it's two competing sides, you know, both confusing sciences. So you got a lot to work against there.
Well, as John Denver sang, plant a tree.
That's right.
For your tomorrow.
You know, we need more ficuses. That's what I want to see.
Ficus. Or is it deciduous plants? Is that
deciduous? Dude, you lost me at... I barely know what a ficus is. Maybe we'll have more carbon capture tomorrow. I'm working on it. We'll see.
The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting.
FM